I understand the next call is to be a split call. I call Eugenie Sage, 5-minute call, ballot 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I congratulate you as Assistant Speaker and look forward to your knowledge, your fairness and your light touch in being a referee of proceedings in this House. And congratulate also the other Assistant Speaker, Lindsay Tish, the Deputy Speaker, the Honourable Chester Burrows, and the Speaker, the Right Honourable David Carter. And I'd also like to congratulate new members in this House and the very powerful and eloquent maiden speeches that we have heard from across the House. I look forward to working with you. I'm very pleased to be back here in Parliament, and I would like to thank everybody who voted in this election, particularly people who party voted Green. I wouldn't be here without your votes. And there were more than 10,000 people this election who party voted Green than did so in 2011. So as a Green MP, I recommit to being a voice in this House for a long-term vision for this beautiful country of ours, for a smarter, fairer and greener economy and a much less rapacious approach to nature. Mr Speaker, the National Government is an expert in doublespeak. We had the speech from the throne referring to balanced and sensible management of our natural resources. And then in the next 2 paragraphs, it talked about encouraging petroleum and mineral exploration and more dams and more irrigation projects. The National Government just doesn't get it. It's not listening. The United Nations Climate Chief, Cristina Ferreiras, has said that 3/4 of known fossil fuel reserves need to stay in the ground if we are to avoid catastrophic climate change and cap the rise in global mean temperatures to 2 degrees. Yet the National Government is doing the exact opposite by encouraging more oil exploration and more exploitation of fossil fuels. In the speech from the throne, the Governor-General said that the government would continue to focus on managing New Zealand's emissions. That is a joke. Under National, we've seen net emissions increase by 20% and they're predicted to increase by another 50% in the next 10 years unless government policy changes, and we've seen absolutely no indication of that happening in this term. So it's the National Government's complacency on climate change which is a threat to the health and well-being of present and future generations, to our environment and to our economy, because it's based on maximising the exploitation of nature, and that means that New Zealand remains part of the problem in terms of climate change rather than part of the solution. So instead of locking us into this high carbon investment in oil exploration, in agricultural intensification, the government needs to focus on reducing our emissions. And that's something that is a priority for the Green Party in this Parliament, to get a change of policy. Because we have an urgent need to shift to a much smarter and fairer economy, and that will provide many opportunities both in terms of export income, regional development and jobs. Mr Speaker, in this term I'm really pleased to pick up the oceans and fisheries portfolios because our marine environment is underprotected and it's seriously threatened by overfishing. The government's certainly promising new marine protected areas legislation, but that needs to be supported by a comprehensive ocean protection strategy and a commitment to an extensive network of marine protected areas which use the best practice in marine reserve design, instead of what we've got at the moment, which is a very ad hoc approach, postage stamp sized reserves scattered around the coast. And if the government is to be serious about marine protection, we need to do something about ocean acidification. Because there's a recent report from the Ministry of Primary Industry which makes chilling reading about the effects on shellfish. Ocean acidification leads to changes in the saturation levels of calcium carbonate. That makes it more difficult for shellfish like oysters to actually form their shells. As larvae, they have a very small window to form shells, or otherwise they die. And there have been massive mortalities in oyster larvae off the Oregon coast in the United States. we have the potential to experience those effects here unless we do something about climate change and contribute to reducing our emissions. Thank you.